Hey everybody, welcome to episode 53 of Making It. I'm Bob Clagett, here with David Picciuto.
Hey!
And Jimmy Diresta.
Hello everybody.
How's it going?
Good. New year. It's the first one in the new year, right?
Yeah.
This show spans 3 years now.
Oh, that's true. That's crazy.
3 separate years. Is it crazy?
Crazy.
Oh.
Yep. I mean, it's not 3 years old, but it started in went through one complete year, and now this is a few minutes into the other year.
A few minutes in. We just broke into the new year.
Yeah. In relative terms, yeah.
Well, what are you guys up to? What you working on?
Well, since you asked how I was doing first, I guess I'll go first. I just put up a video about all my photography and video equipment. I get a lot of emails and comments in the questions in the comments saying, "Hey, what do you use?" And I figured I'm just gonna take care of all that at once. This is all the equipment that I use, and just kind of there's a couple little tips in there, but some people will get some use out of it. Some people will not get anything out of it because they're looking for project videos. And I do have a project video coming out in a couple days, which I'm not going to talk about yet, but I teased you guys with it, and I'm really excited about it because it worked.
It's very cool.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was going to work, so it was really cool.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, and then fulfilling some commitments with Rockler. I got behind, and they said, "Hey, David, where are those videos?" And I'm like, "They're coming right up. They're coming right up." And then working on a chapter for a CNC book coming out by Make. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but I just did. I think I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, I think it's been talked about. Yeah,
okay.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So
nobody listens to this anyway. Right?
No one's rushing to make a CNC book ahead of Mix.
So working on like 4 things at once, and I think I said last week that I'm going to try to increase the output, and like this week, I've already started just working nonstop for the new year, and I'm off to a good start. I feel real good. I feel real productive.
Well, I got into blacksmithing since we last spoke, and on my Instagram I put up a couple pictures of me experimenting with 2 blacksmithing little experiments I did, and it really feels natural to me. I really love it. So I'm looking forward to playing more with that concept. It's kind of a New Year's resolution. So I spent nearly 2 full weeks up at the place upstate. I talked about it last time, but I'm back in the city now, and Taylor and I are just like, wow, how can we do that full time? We just had so much fun and productive playtime in the shop up there, which I have a different set of tools up there, so I end up with a different set of results. But just playing with blacksmithing, it's like I said, it just feels so natural for me, and doing more research on that, and I'm just trying to formulate a good project. And so I haven't filmed any of it. I'm just experimenting. And I did a project for Core 77 yesterday. We got home Sunday night, and I knew that I had to get my core video in for publication for tomorrow, which will be right now is Tuesday, tomorrow will be Wednesday, so it'll be up by the time the podcast goes up. I made a screw box to organize my screws. So the whole 2 weeks are up there. I have boxes of drywall screws on every ledge in my workshop, and I keep going, okay, where are the 2 inches? What did I do with the 1 1/4? And the boxes are all tearing open. Like I cut the lid off, and the boxes eventually start to wear, and they spill open. So I actually almost bought like a screw organizer, these plastic ones you see like at Home Depot. And I was like, you know what? This is going to be a good project video. So I made that for Core 77 this week. I just made it late last night. I Dropboxed it at about 3 a.m. So I did a whole video yesterday. So that was fun. I got that out of the way. So everyone's asking me when a new video is coming out. My WWE Crazy Absurd Knife is going to be up today, actually, if this is Friday now. Now let's go back into the future. So if today is Friday, I will have published the video. So I got that coming up. And just experimenting. And actually, interesting thing this week, you guys remember Ryan Cochran from Pennsylvania?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to come and spend 2 days with me. Yeah,
he's a good dude.
He's a cool guy. So he's going to come tomorrow's Wednesday, and Thursday he's going to spend with me in the shop. And we're just going to I had a big project, but the client just kind of said, hold off. So we'll come up with something. But he just wants to come and hang out and, get the vibes of what's going on here. So
tell Ryan I said I love his facial hair.
He has a
mine's growing
beard.
out too. Mine's growing out. I look at myself and I'm like, oh, I look like Ryan. The big mustache.
He does have a fantastic beard.
Yeah, we got to meet Ryan a few weeks ago in Rochester, and yeah, he was fun. I actually when we were leaving, when we were saying goodbye, I'm like, you are the type of guy that I could see myself hanging out with in the future.
Super nice guy, and we're gonna get to bond and hang out. And like I said, we were going to build a big set of shelves for a client job, but now we might be onto something else. So we'll see what happens.
Put him to work, man.
No, he wants to. He said, he goes, I want to come and I want to do stuff. And it's a good opportunity for him because Taylor's working on a couple of chairs she's trying to finish up. So he'll get to see her do some leather work in the next couple of days. And I'm getting a new welder from Lincoln tomorrow, so I'll get to experiment and play with that.
Ooh. So. Any word on your welder that got stolen?
No, my Miller Matic DVI got heisted from a job on Christmas Day, which is a total bummer. My buddy Ryan, same name, but he borrowed it, so he feels extremely guilty. So he went out and bought me a new Miller 211 unit, which is really sweet machine. He wanted to replace it right away. There's going to be insurance money and stuff, and if the insurance money comes, he's just going to, keep it down the road. But he didn't want to make me wait. But we got our feelers out. I know the seedy underworld of the Lower East Side. I got my feelers out. And if anybody sees a Miller DVI on wheels with my name spray painted on it, sit on it and text me. I'll be right over.
Pulling up on your Vespa.
That's right.
Throwing that thing on the back.
Yeah, and then I'll get arrested for stealing it from the guy that bought it from the junkie that stole it. That's what New York is like. You get arrested for taking back your own stuff. But we'll see what happens. I have a good feeling, honestly. In the 20-something years I lived in New York City, I had my motorcycle stolen and I got it back, and then I had my Vespa stolen and I got it back because people know me and they're like, "Hey, I think I saw your Vespa parked all the way down in the Lower East Side." Like, I'm in the Lower East Side, but this is the real Lower East Side, all the way down by the Pier 17, which is where the New York Seaport is. And I went over there, and I'm like, sure as hell, my Vespa's sitting in pieces in the courtyard of this building with wrenches and hammers all around it. And the guy goes, "Oh, I recognized it was yours because of like the extra stuff on the side. Like I had this like custom siding on it." And yeah, I mean, I probably told you this. I'll tell you the 2-second story. The day I cut my finger, I went in the hospital for 3 days. And during those 3 days, I left my Vespa unlocked in front of my house. And they didn't have to move it for alternate sides or anything. So I get out of the hospital, and now it's the day of my birthday, April 3rd. And I go to sleep and I wake up and the Vespa is gone. So it got stolen on the morning of my birthday, the day after I got out of the hospital from having my pinky sewed back on. And so I got it back about 2 weeks later. So I think I got good karma. I'm hoping I'll get the welder back.
Cool. Well, hope you do.
Thank you.
For me, today's my first day back, like really back at it. I've actively tried not to do a lot of work, over the last couple of weeks. The kids have been home from school. They started school back today, so I've been like doing a little bit here and there, but I've, really trying to be like with them and just enjoy the time off, which is really hard. Like the other day, my wife, it was like mid-afternoon, and she was like, "Will you please just go down in the shop and work for a little while because you're so antsy?" She's like, "I can see it in you. Just go do something." I was like, "Okay."
That's great to hear.
Yeah. So she could tell I was just ready to get back, But so anyway, today's back at it. I did a Q&A video today since I wasn't going to have a project video this week. I put out a video on Sunday morning really early, just like, "Hey, give me some questions." And it got 1,000 comments within like, I don't know, an hour or something. And my videos never get 1,000 comments at all. And so I ended up taking it down because I wasn't able to actually like get through, all the comments to read them all. And so I took the video down and then have been kind of, taking that list down to something that I could actually handle. So today I shot it and just finished editing it. So it'll go up today or tomorrow or something. Then I'm going to be on to actually working. And the cool thing is the artwork for my arcade is going to be at my house tonight.
Wait, I thought it was last week.
Yeah, okay. So here's what happened. This is out of my control. The company
everybody they couldn't see. Dave just did a great air pump, but you kind of stalled it when he said, "Wait, it's not."
I was excited.
Yeah. So here's what happened.
Put the brakes on that one.
The company that printed the stuff for me, really awesome, and they're doing a great job. They shipped it out second day air to make sure that I had it before Christmas. Like, the guy's being awesome, and he, you know, got it all finished, got it all shipped, and he was like, you're going to have it before Christmas. I'm going on vacation, so I want to make sure you have it. Awesome. So it doesn't show up before Christmas. It doesn't show up right after Christmas. And then I realized that they accidentally used my P.O. box to send it to instead of my home address. UPS can't ship to P.O. boxes. So it's in like this UPS purgatory somewhere, just like waiting. So this guy, Neil, goes in and changes the address to my address. You know, it should be fixed. And it's still just sitting there until yesterday. We, you know, been going back and forth with UPS, and finally they got on the ball and just relabeled it, and now it's on the truck. So, you know, and luckily the UPS refunded their money for the second day air, because I mean, I'm sure that cost a lot to get it shipped, you know, like that. So anyway, everything else on the arcade is done. It's waiting for the art, and then I can start assembling it all. So today I'm going to have that, and the machine is going to happen.
Yes.
And a couple days ago, I moved it out of my shop because there's nothing else I can do to it in the shop. There's no reason for it to be there anymore. My shop literally feels like it's 4 times larger than it was. And I realized that it had been in there. I started it in late October. October 28th was the day that I started building it. So it's been in there for, you know, over 2 months, just taking up space. So it feels entirely different now, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm ready to get that done. I'm ready to get, you know, more projects rolling, and yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I'm so excited about 2016. It just feels like a fresh start, and really, with what we do, it should just be this long continuous line. But I don't know why. It just feels like I'm new, and I'm full of energy, and I'm going to do a bunch of projects. And I don't know if you guys had that same.
No, I
feeling.
got that same vibe. Like I said, those couple of weeks, Taylor and I got to play up in the workshop. And, you know, like I said, the forge was there. I'm like, I don't spend enough time with this thing. On the WWE knife that I ended up making, I did a little bit of blacksmithing. And then once I was done with the knife for the project, like I wanted to keep doing it. So I started playing with Taylor made a couple of chair frames while we were up there. And she had some scrap pieces sitting around. So I started hammering on these pieces of 5/8 cold rolled steel. And I just was like, wow, like, why haven't I been doing this all this time? And so, like, again, talking about 16 being like a fresh start, I totally had that vibe in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think it's natural for us to use the beginning of the year as that point in time. But whatever it is, I mean, we just, you know, we have to create points in time to say, like, something's going to change here, or something's going to renew here, or
it was good.
Whatever.
There was no like deadlines or people I needed to meet. And, you know, like I said to Taylor, I feel like it's so much more done upstate. She's like, well, no one's popping by. That's the thing, you know.
Yeah.
In the city, you know, every 5 minutes, someone's calling me, like, hey, are you there? I'm going to come in. I want to drop something off. You know, upstate, I'm like in complete isolation. So it's great.
Getting all Howard Hughes up there. Did you grow your fingernails out while you're there?
See how long my beard got? I was almost going to trim it this morning.
You guys are both looking good this winter.
Thank you.
With your winter beards.
I'm making a conscious effort for 16 to try and lose weight. If you notice more and more of my videos, soon it's only going to be my fingertips in the videos. You're not going to see anything. Like my hands are going to start getting fat if I don't stop. I cut myself out of the videos more and more because I'm like, oh my God, I look horrible from that angle. And so it's just I've done it with TV. I said to the guys, the cameraman, I was like, you know, no love handle shots, no baldy shots. And I would tell them, I'm like, just please, just don't give the editors anything that they could stick in there to make me look silly. And, but when I'm thin, I don't care. I'm like, whatever, shoot my bald head, shoot my love handles. I don't care. But when I get heavy, I just feel so self-conscious. And so at the beginning of this year, these last few days, I'm trying to cut out sugar, and I got to build up to the exercise part. But if at the very least passively, I'm going to try and watch my diet and try and eat more healthy. So,
man, sugar is a big deal. Yeah. Go ahead, David. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was just going to say, like, I've talked about this before, where I've changed my diet a couple months ago, and I'm drastically reducing trans fat, saturated fats, and cholesterol into my diet for various health reasons, and I've been doing pretty good. But we went to go see a movie the other night, and I got the medium popcorn, which is actually an extra large popcorn in real life, and I got the big soda, and it was just like my one day to just. I had popcorn for dinner. Yeah, it was my cheat day, and it was so
popcorn
good
for dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few years ago, I cut out sodas. I mean, I used to drink at least one Mountain Dew every single day, maybe more. You know, it was like a lot. And I was getting ready to start training for a marathon and just decided, like, with this training, I'm just going to stop sodas just to see if I can do it. And I haven't had one since. And honestly, that was the best. And that was really the only change I made. It wasn't like I changed what I was eating too much. But that amount of sugar taken out of us every single day makes a difference over time, you know?
I'm a nibbler. Like, I'll go get a candy bar, and then I'm like, oh, I love those candies. I'll see them in the window of a store, so I'm like, I'm going to treat myself. And so I go and get like another like handful of candies, and then I'm like, oh, last time candy I had was like 2:00. Now it's 6. I could eat another piece of candy. You know, I'm like making all these ridiculous rationalizations. And then, of course, every coffee I have like 7 coffees a day. Everyone's got sugar in it. So yeah, I'm trying to just like completely cut all that out. And I don't drink a lot of soda, so I think it's okay that I could eat 6 candy bars in a few days, you know, because I don't drink any soda.
But I listen to a lot of like self-help books, business-ish type books, and all the really good ones say health is a big part of your success. So if you are healthy, you actually feel better about yourself and you're more motivated to do things, and you just have a better outlook on everything altogether. And man, I love red meat, I love sugars, I love fats, I love all that, and I've been cutting that down drastically lately, and I'm trying to. I think just cutting those out doesn't make me feel better about myself, but actually seeing progress on the scale and everything, and then I'm like, oh, this is good, and it just changes your outlook for the day. So I do believe that is true, that your health is a direct correlation between your output in life and business.
I didn't want to get too wrapped up in like exactly how much I weigh. I definitely broke 200, so I'm like 205, 210 or whatever. But literally since December, like maybe 28th or 29th, I cut sugar out as much as I possibly can, you know, without accidentally eating it when I'm not conscious. But today I was walking down the street and my pants kept falling down, so I reached down and I went to the next hole on my belt. I'm like,
nice.
Oh,
wow.
That's like, oh, wow. Like, I'm like, oh, wow, maybe something's happening. Maybe I just had to like inhale tight, but that's enough to keep me motivated for a couple more days.
That's awesome. And what we do, it actually, you know, kind of with what you were saying, David, it makes sense that the healthier you can be, not that you have to be like super fit or anything, but the healthier you are, the more aware you're going to be of like how your body interacts with the tools that you're around for safety's sake. Because if somebody has trouble bending or moving at a certain speed, you know, I mean, that affects things. Like, you know, if something's falling and you need to grab it, but you can't because
just let it hit the ground.
Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? It does play into it. So it's not a bad thing to pursue that to help your business, you know, to help you do your job better and stuff. But
I didn't need that cup. Kick it under the table.
That's where I keep it, right there on the floor.
I got another screwdriver and just kick it under the table.
Maybe that's a whole topic someday. Is just how things outside of what we do, how it affects what we do.
Yeah,
something to think about.
Interesting. Yep. I mean, I know that when I've been training for races and stuff, the way I feel at the peak point of training when I'm doing the most and I'm, you know, 18 weeks into it or whatever, I feel better at that moment than I do any other time of the year. It just, I sleep better because I'm working harder, and then I work harder during the day because I'm more focused, and, you know, it's better all the way around.
I've been there, and I know what you mean. It's so true.
It's hard to keep that in mind, you know, the other 6 months of the year when you're thinking like, oh, I really don't want to get up and run in 30-degree weather or whatever, you know. But in that moment, I always go, man, I need to remember how I feel right now because it's good, you know, it's worthwhile.
And something else I'd like to talk to you guys about, either online or offline, is sleep patterns, sleep habits, and how it affects what you do. And
I just try and stay up as late as possible, and then I try and get up as early as possible.
I do too, and it's a struggle. And
it results in about 4 hours of sleep a day. 5.
There's lots of studies on sleep. Ooh, I'm so far off topic, but there's lots of stories on sleep, studies on sleep saying that there is no, it's not the same for everybody. So you can't just say 8 hours of sleep. Some people actually only need 5 hours of sleep. Some people need 9 hours of sleep. It comes down to you need as much sleep as you think you need to be productive.
It's also a quality of sleep thing. I know that I've seen in different parts of my life, like when I was single, I would sleep better because there was nothing else except for a cat. There was nothing else in the room to bother my sleep. Then there was a point where I got married and I had to adjust to like having a person kick me while I was asleep and all that stuff. Then I had kids, and then you don't sleep at all for a long time. So the quality of sleep I think has as much to do as the amount of sleep. And usually that's stuff that's out of your control, unless you need to buy a new mattress or better sheets or something,
Casper.
Casper. Yeah. Anyway, let's go back to the thing that we're supposed to be doing a podcast about. So we got a question from Ben, and it's kind of long, but we'll get through it here. How do you deal with not following through on intentions? In past videos or podcast episodes, you've all expressed intentions to make videos continuing the project or expand on some aspect of that project. For example, Bob's arcade cabinet, which is happening, by the way, that people harassed him about for a really long time. David's learning to weld video. Jimmy's second attempt at the switchblade buck knife. I'm not complaining or asking about those specific things. Instead, when we all have these intentions, good and honest as they may be, we fail to follow through on them. How do people decide to abandon something or try to reignite the fire to motivate action?
Mm-hmm. It's a good one.
Fail to follow through. Maybe the word fail needs to be substituted with something else.
Timely decide not to. Yeah, no, it's a good topic because I was just going through this the other day and I mentioned it a little bit before we got started. The Chevy, I haven't had much progress on it because it got cold. I do have like a half-baked second video in the shoot, but the reason my reluctance is taken over is because it just hasn't had much physical visual change since the last time anybody has seen it. In the first video, I showed it running, so it still runs. And the first video, I showed me putting some brakes on, and the only real difference is now the brakes are on all the wheels. So that's why I haven't really followed through the second episode of that, because it just... like my editing style, I always like to see big drastic changes. So when I do 2-part videos or a series, which I'm not really good at, I haven't done very many at all. I don't think I've done any. I guess my printing press is the only thing I've done 2 parts on. But I like to try and see a drastic change from one episode to another. That's just my personal style. And so the car hasn't changed much. It still runs, and it's still a rusty pile of crap. So to show it in the same state, it doesn't seem like it would be exciting enough to constitute a second video. And when it comes to, for instance, my knife, I know he did say in the email he's not citing these specific examples, but it does get me thinking. The first knife failed because I used bad solder. The mechanism let go because the solder was the soft solder. But now I've gotten semi-adept at using the silver solder, which is the high-grade solder, which is much stronger. So I know when I reattempt this knife, I'm going to use my new technology, which I didn't have up until recently. And then that brings me to the printing press. I promised in my last anniversary video or my last, thank you video for 400,000 that at 500, I'm going to do the printing press. But it's going to be probably 10 degrees below zero in the middle of the winter when I actually hit about 500,000. So that might have to go on hold. But that being said, this past week, one of the things I did address was my printing press. I started oiling it up again, getting it ready, and really addressing the idea that I really want to try and use this thing. I started going back on Briar Press, which is like the main resource for old letterpress machines. And there's a broken part on the machine, which is the reason why I haven't printed it sooner. And so I actually ordered the part. I should get it any minute on eBay. And it's amazing that you could still find this. This thing was made in 1911. And I think the model I have, they stopped making in maybe 1915, 1920. The subsequent models are basically the same. They're just styling was different. But so this part, I was able to find it. Somebody was selling a whole lot of parts, like for local pickup, which would weigh a lot. And I circled the one thing in their picture, and I was like, would you sell me just this one part for the same price you want everything for, and you'd ship it to me? And she said, sure. It's only $100. And so I'm getting that part in the mail. But I'm considering getting back onto episode 3 of the printer. So I think for me, mostly, the whole reason I don't get back to some of these things is just time. I mean, our to-do list never ends. and more fun, exciting things keep taking the place. And in a way, I feel, maybe you guys feel the same, I've done that already. Even though I promised a part 2, getting back to it feels like kind of going backwards in time. Although you're not really, of course, this episode is going to have some more new information in it. But for me personally, there's kind of that air of like, I already did that. Yeah. But, unless I could show some drastic new technological breakthrough, which is the whole idea, I'll get back to it. But I know in time I'll definitely get on, episodes of the car, and printing press is definitely going to happen. I'm doing my legwork right now, and the knife is definitely going to happen. And I'm making Witchblade 3, which I started, but I put on the side. I teased everybody on Instagram months ago. So, I mean, these things, it's just, they're all on the to-do list.
Yeah. For me, and I've told you guys recently that I've lied a lot lately. And so when I made that guitar video a couple months ago, I said, hey, I'm going to make another guitar without a CNC to show you how that's done. I'm also going to show how I painted that guitar. And I think I was caught up in the excitement of guitar building at that time. I just came down off of that high. I'm like, that was so fun. I'm going to do more guitar videos. And then as I started the next project, which wasn't a guitar video, I was really into that. And then I got into the next video and I was really into that. And so the excitement for the guitar went away. And I'm still going to do the second guitar video. I'm still going to paint the first guitar and show how that's done. But now, like Jimmy said, it's 20 degrees outside. I have to paint the guitar in the garage, and I need ideal conditions. I need heat. So I got to wait till spring to do that. And so sometimes my emotions just kind of take over, and I say I'm going to do all these things. So like the picture frames, I made a spline jig video, and then I made a picture frame, a miter jig video, and said, hey, this is the first 2 of a series of picture frames I'm going to do. I'm going to do a basic picture frame making video, then I'm going to do an advanced picture frame making video. And same thing, I was caught up in the excitement, and then other things kind of took over, and my to-do list is really long. My commitments to other people and other companies is really long, and time has gone by, and people are asking where they are. They're still going to happen. It just didn't happen as soon as I thought they would happen.
Yeah, that reminds me of my tips video, which I owe episode 11. It's just a matter of me and Dave getting together on the same time. We have it all written out, but we just got to do it.
Yeah, I think kind of what you're saying, David, is something I was similarly thinking about, is that like my interests spiderweb. And so I'll find something that I'm really interested in and I want to do more of it. And then it leads to 3 or 4 other things that I think, oh, those are cool. Yeah, I should check that out. And I go down that hallway and then I'm like, oh, look, there's 4 more things. I should go, and you end up like 2 miles away from the thing that you started with. And that's my personality. It's probably a lot of our personalities in that way is, chasing new things that we've never learned about, chasing new techniques that we've never done. And that makes it hard to get back and do more of something or complete something, Also, for me, I've found, this is something I've thought a lot about over the years. And I think most of us are this way if we'll admit it, but I am very much living on a sine wave where there are times when I am fully focused and fully invested in doing a thing. And I do it for a while, and then I have to come off of that, and I have to go down and do something else. I have to go in the opposite direction for a while, and be interested in something else for a while, and then I'll come back, And so it's a lot of back and forth in my interests and where I'm focusing my attention, because I'll get burnt out if I stay in one place for too long, I think is about me. So part of it is that, because I think if I were to say, like, this is not specific to the arcade, but it's something that was brought up so I can use it. If I were to say, like, I'm going to do an arcade, and then I dedicated the next 6 months of my life to doing an arcade, I would be so sick of arcades and I would not want to play it. You know what I mean? It was more like, I'm really interested in this. I'm going to take the first steps, do a thing, and plan on finishing it at some point, and then I went to something else for a while. My interest went all the way to the left. And then when I'm now coming back to the right, I can focus on the arcade again for a while, and I'm not going to do that forever. So, also, I think things like that I don't typically come back to are usually big. And for me, things that are really ambitious are also kind of scary, right? So, you know, if you have a big plan, something you want to do, or something you've never done before, like with welding, there was a little bit of fear in you, right? When you started welding, because you didn't know anything about it. Right. So that probably was a hurdle to stop you from actually getting to do that for the first time. And same thing for the arcade. For me, it's just like, it's really big and I can do it, but if I want to do it well, there's a lot of things I have to think about. Yeah. A lot of plans I have to make, and a lot of pieces I have to prep, and a lot of this and that, and this, you know. And so that spirals up in your head to where like, man, I don't know if I want to do this or not, because it's just big and scary. And so I think a lot of those things, like for me, are about my interest being in the right place at the right time. And
timing is a very big aspect of all of it.
Yeah. And just like if I think it's too scary for me to actually attempt. But another thing, let me look at his question again, because he said something. Well, he talked about like me being harassed for a really long time about the arcade. A lot of the expectation here, and we talked about expectation last week a little bit, is like these external schedules, where if I say, or any of us say that we're going to do a thing, the people that hear us say that are then expecting us to do that. Now, I may do the arcade in 20 years from now, or you may start to weld in 20 years from now. That doesn't mean you're not going to do it. It means you're going to do it on your schedule, which is not necessarily the schedule of other people. So I mean, there's no right or wrong thing there. It's just interesting to like the way that we look at the things that we want to do and where we decide to put them in our schedule is very different probably from where other people want us to put them in our schedule, you know?
By the way, you just reminded me of a very funny joke, which I'll tell at the end of the podcast. about expectations and waiting a long time. It's a funny, stupid joke. It's clean.
All right. Okay. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I got one more little just example I just want to throw in so that somebody can hold me accountable for it and say that I never did it. I restored a Vespa, 1962 Vespa years ago, and I was on like the kind of high that you were talking about of like, oh, this is awesome. Like I restored a vintage vehicle, you know, tore it totally apart, did all this new stuff to it, and I got a second one to do, but then I kind of got bored. I was like, I don't know if I really want to do another one. And then this guy I knew was interested, so I was like, hey, you have a bunch of old motorcycles. Why don't we trade? You can have the Vespa, you can do that. I can do a motorcycle. Never done a motorcycle before. So he gave me this, most of the parts I needed for, it's called a Harley Hummer. You ever heard of this? Mm-mm. It's a two-stroke Harley. And I think it's the only series of two-stroke that Harley ever made.
From basically, the 70s?
No, it's from the late 50s, early 60s.
Oh, wow.
And actually before that, it was here's a tangent for you. It was a German design bike, and it's like kind of a dirt track racer, like a real low slung small bike. And it was a German design. And then when the Allies won World War II, they took all the German, not all of them, but a lot of the German manufacturing designs, and they distributed them between the Allies. So different companies got different designs to produce in the Allied countries. Well, Harley got this design. So anyway, it became the Harley Hummer, then it turned into like the Harley Scout and something else. It's this really cool little like low handlebar motorcycle. Mm-hmm. And so I've had this thing in a pile, and I worked on it a lot for about a year, but it's been in that pile for about 10 years now. And it's like up on a shelf. But it's one of those things, like I would love to get around to doing that. But
sounds like a good series.
Yeah, maybe at some point. But it's, you know, there's a lot to it. There's a bunch of stuff I've never done before, a lot of things I don't know how to do, and I'll have to do a lot of research. And, you know, so it's another one of those things that, like, I'm interested in, but I don't know when I'll actually get around to finishing it off. But anyway, I'm done talking. I've been talking for a long time.
The emailer pointed out that I said I was going to do a welding video, like a getting started in welding. And I still want to do that. I'm just making up excuses now. But other things caught my interest over the past 3 or 4 months, and I haven't gotten to it. I'm still going to do it. You just have to wait a little bit longer, you know. And
I'll do my 3D printing video as soon as you do your welding video.
And so, what I've learned over the past few months is I shouldn't talk about future projects and just keep it to myself, because that Bob brings up the term expectations a lot when we're talking. And I think I need to give less false expectations from my viewers and listeners, and just do what I'm going to do and kind of surprise everybody, almost Apple-like. Like, hey, look, here's what I released today.
Right. That's one thing. Sorry, go ahead.
My final thought was, I think that's just going to help me out mentally, where it's going to put less pressure on me, and it's more of a surprise for everybody else. And I don't have to worry about expectations.
Yeah, I was going to say I have another back burner project, which you guys know about, and it's probably equally as difficult and complex as the arcade, but nobody really knows about it. And I want to keep it that way because I don't want that. I don't want people going, so when are you going to do that thing? You know? So yeah, but I had an idea. You want to do a welding video. You want to do a 3D printing video. Maybe we should all make each other's videos and then just mail them to the next person in line.
That's how we met, right? I mean, remember we were going to do that like round robin thing, but we never did it.
Yeah.
We got started.
Bob
actually sent his project. We were all supposed to do this collaborative video, and it never happened. Bob actually completed something, sent it to me. I have the thing, but I'm using it as a storage container now.
You should use it as firewood is what you should use it as.
No, it works great as a storage container. And so people have brought it up over the past couple of years, like, hey, when are you guys going to work on a video together? And we're like, we've tried, it failed.
Yeah. I think we just got onto more, it's, it goes back to, I think our to-do list, just the priorities always shift. And, whenever I announce I'm going to do something, I have every intention in the world of doing it. It's just, I have that excitement. I'm like, oh man, wouldn't it be great if I did a series on fixing up a car? A couple of years ago, I remember I was, this past March, I was going to do a video series with my friend Bobby. In fact, Bobby and I finally got together on camera, for the world to see. We have a bunch of funny private videos, but Bobby's my buddy who is in the Ice Pick video. He's my buddy from Louisville. And whenever him and Dave are together, we always have a lot of fun. And so it was a great test for us to play around with the Ice Pick video, because now we have all these ideas. I talked about wanting to do this video that was kind of car related, antique car related, and I was going to do it with my buddy, and I was talking about Bobby. I never got around to shooting the pilot, but now since we did the Ice Pick video and that worked out well, we're like, oh man, we got to do this other idea, which we first talked about, because we had so much fun together on camera. So I'm talking about, so that's another idea, but I have every intention of doing it. But when I sit down and think about how much time it's going to take, and everyone's schedule has to align, and everyone's traveling and doing stuff. And even David Welder's about to go to Europe for 2 months. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, but I'm sure, leading up to those 2 weeks and after those 2 weeks, David's going to be certainly busy. So, actually, David's going to Europe to hang out with Jocko.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, it's going to be,
awesome.
Those two together is going to be very, very dynamic. I just hope they don't blow each other up.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. I can only imagine. I just can't wait to see what those guys are going to produce together. But like I said, I have every intention of doing all these things I say I'm going to do. It's just the to-do list is just too long. And then also now pepper in, requirements for core, which I totally don't mind doing because it pays my bills, and it forces me to think spontaneously. So I got to do my core video then. So I have to do 3 mandatory videos a month that interlace with all my other creative wishy-washy to-do list. So, it really just keeps moving things further along.
Yeah, that stuff, man, that's pretty amazing. Actually, I hadn't really thought about the fact that you have 3 separate things to do on top of the client work and the just creative stuff that you want to do on your own.
Yeah, that's why I only sleep 5 hours a night.
Well, I was doing the Q&A video today, and somebody asked me a similar question. I don't remember exactly what it was, but something about my response was, the to-do list grows at about twice the rate of my production.
Yeah.
So there's no way I can ever get through that list if it continues like that. I don't expect it to slow down any, Yeah. And I'm okay with that because, not all ideas are great. Not all ideas are things that actually should happen. They're just like, they may be a springboard for something else, or...
I even have like 4 videos on the computer, which I haven't edited yet. Partially because like the spark of like, after looking at the footage, I'm like, But then I have one really good video that I have to finish editing. But I look through it and there's so much material. I'm like, how am I going to get this down to, under 10 minutes or 12 minutes? So that's another thing. I started chipping away at it a few months ago. But yeah, no, that's it. Sometimes I shoot, I have for instance, I talked about the Chris knife with the wavy blade. I took me a year to finish that video, just about. I was so hopped up on it, and then once I look back at it, I'm like, okay, what is the second half of this video going to be? I have no idea. So that's the other thing too, is the inspiration just kind of like fades away, and if I have some good stuff in the can, I just have to figure out how to finalize it. But and then it's like anything. If you're going to get writer's block, you just got to walk away from it and then come back to it with a fresher idea.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about having that long to-do list is that you always have some backup stuff you can you can switch to and focus on something different for a while. So.
Yep.
Cool. You guys got anything else on this topic?
No, just that I intend on keeping every single promise I ever made.
Me too.
Me too.
Oh, you guys want to hear the joke before we go any further?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Well, Bob, you said you're going to do something that's going to take 20 years later to finish it. So stupid. So a guy's on stage and he's a magician and he says, I'm bad at telling jokes, by the way. There's a magician and he's on stage and he says to somebody from the audience, he goes, I'm going to hand you a baseball bat and hit me in the head as hard as you can. And it's, I'm choking. I'm forgetting part of the setup. Anyway, so the guy comes on stage and he goes, hit me as hard as you can. And so he hits the guy. He stands back and swings, hits the guy as hard as he can in the head with a baseball bat. Now the magician goes, boom, out cold. Ambulance comes, takes him to the hospital. And there's a piece of missing. Sorry. 20 years later, he's laying in bed and his eyes pop open. And he says, ta-da.
I got one kind of like that.
I'm missing the middle beat. I can't remember what that middle beat is. So those are only like 2 beats. There's a third. Every good joke has 3 beats. I'm missing the middle beat. But yeah.
So there's this whole string of jokes that it works better if you tell all the jokes together. But one of them is this guy's watching TV and he hears somebody knocking on his door. So he goes and opens the door and he looks down and there's a snail like at the bottom of his, he didn't see anybody there and he sees a snail down there. So he picks up the snail and just like chucks it as far as he can into his front yard and shuts the door. Then, like 20 years later, old man watching TV, somebody knocks on the door. So he goes and opens the door and nobody there and he looks down and there's a snail and the snail's like, what was that all about?
That's funny.
Anyway. All right. So what have you guys been, let's move on from our awful jokes. What have you guys been watching?
Oh, so I found this video the other day. It's called 1 Mile Every Day for a Year. Have you guys seen this?
I've heard something about it.
So this guy basically shot footage of him running 1 mile every single day for a year. And he ran at home. He ran while he was on vacation. And this video is kind of like a collage of the entire year. And it's so inspirational because he talks about, if you... Bob, you bring this up all the time of breaking problems down into smaller little sections and accomplishing those tasks. And he, in this video, talks about if you had to run 365 miles all at once, that's a really hard thing to do. But if you run 1 mile every single day, that's pretty easy. Yeah. And he equates that to everyday life issues. If you just do a little bit every day, you'll find over time that you can accomplish your goals. And it was shot really well, and it was fun watching him run in all these different places all over the world. And it was just really inspirational, and I thought I would share this with everybody.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. That reminds me of I found it by accident. It just showed up in my feed. A guy who videotapes himself every day for I think a year walking across China.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. It's awesome.
And his hair grows, so he videotapes himself for a couple of minutes a day, and the video is 8 minutes long. And in that 8 minutes, he goes from being totally bald and shaved to full beard and hair. But in the process, he has walked across the whole country of China.
Yeah, it's an amazing video.
Yeah, pretty cool. It's funny. During the break, I was out in the garage, and I have these things from 3M, these work tunes, where you have like a little corded wire, so you have ear protection, but you can listen to your iPod. And so while I was grinding and doing whatever I was doing in the shop working on that knife, I started listening to podcasts. I listened to, our friends, Reclaimed Audio. I listened to Faking It. And then I started listening to Mark Maron. And I listened to probably since then, about a week and a half ago, I must have listened to 20, 30 episodes of Mark Maron. I actually met Mark years ago when he lived in the neighborhood. He wouldn't remember me, but he would remember my brother because I met him. I was always tagging along with my brother from comedy club to comedy club, and Mark was always hanging around. And so I used to see him at the Luna Lounge and a couple of the places around town, and I always hated him, but he made me laugh. I was like, this guy is such an AH, but he's funny. I gave him at least that. Like, he was so neurotic and jealous and weird, but listening to him talk about his behavior, he's very open about the opinion I just gave him, is very funny, and he talks to a lot of interesting people, and he's a good interviewer. So it really grew on me in these last couple of weeks. So that's the Mark Maron WTF podcast.
It's a really good podcast. I don't listen to every episode. I only listen to the episodes where I want to hear the guest speaker.
Yeah, me too. Exactly. I've just been going through them and peppering through.
But you should really check out his IFC show, and I think it's just called Maron. And I've only watched season 1 and about to start season 2 here, but it's really good. And it's kind of like it's sort of about his life. He takes his life experiences and makes a show about it, and it's funny.
What's the funny thing is like I moved to my neighborhood 24 or 5 years ago, and in my neighborhood, he lived here. Todd Barry still lives here.
Wow. I love Todd Barry.
Todd Barry lives like 3 blocks from here. And Louis C.K. and all these comedians. And so when I listen to them talk, they all talk about all these venues that I've been to with my brother. My brother was doing comedy at the same time with all of them. And I met all of them, at least for a handshake here or there with my brother over the years. And it's so funny. And listening back to all these guys, especially Mark Maron, whenever he has a comedian on, they talk about, the early days in the Lower East Side or New York, the Village, and, the Comedy Cellar and all this stuff. And I was like right in the periphery of all that, but just as a spectator. So it's just funny to hear. And like the places they talk about are all places I went to. So for me, it's extremely, it's extremely interesting to hear all this history that I actually had personal interaction with. So it's good.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to recommend a podcast that everybody already knows about. Wood Talk. Everybody knows about Wood Talk, right? Anybody that listens to this probably listens to Wood Talk, but they have a new host, and he's a good guy. Matt Cremona is taking over the 3rd spot of hosting Wood Talk.
I heard a little bit about that.
I am really excited for him. I love Matt. He's great. And
he's so good at what he does, and he's a good dude, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that I talked to him when he was first thinking about doing woodworking stuff full time, and it was a lot of like, obviously he's super talented, but he was like, I'm trying to figure out how to make it into make money on it and like turn it into a thing. And now he's doing stuff with the Wood Whisperer Guild. He's on Wood Talk. I mean, good stuff for him, and I'm really excited for him. So.
It's funny. I caught a video of him and Andy, and I forget who was the third person. They went to go visit a tool maker in somewhere in the Midwest who manufactures old heavy equipment, like old style heavy equipment is what I meant to say, like big giant bandsaws and big planers and stuff like that. And the reason I found that video is something I wanted to announce. I'm telling you guys now. I am picking up a Crescent 24-inch wide, 80-inch long planer. I have nowhere to put it. Whoa. Weighs like 2,000 pounds. Whoa. But I made a deal with a guy on Craigslist. I'm going to go pick it up this Saturday. And the reason I found those guys doing that factory tour is because I was researching this planer. I'm like, oh, there's Matt Cremona. He's going to visit. Oh, what is this? What's this all about? And I watched the whole video. It was so interesting. It's great that these like little pockets of windows onto these different manufacturing facilities that these guys got to go and look at. And but anyway, I'm picking up this. It has an 18-inch wide cutter on it, so it's 18-inch wide plane. It's a Crescent joiner. Everybody always says, "How come you don't have a joiner?" Now I'm going to have the biggest joiner ever made.
That'll show them.
I'm going to show everybody. No, I just saw this, and it's just another old piece of iron that just totally turns me on. And it's in really good shape. The guy promises it's in very good shape. I'm buying it from another guy. We talked a couple times. He sounds just like me. He's like, I buy everything off Craigslist because I'm attracted to it. And he goes, I have a small shop, so I'm mixing things up so I can make more room. And it's just like sexy looking. It looks similar to like Frank Hallworth's. I forget what the brand Frank has, but he's got that big joiner that is like so sexy. It's like that kind of style. Big, heavy cast iron.
It's ready to go?
He says everything's no problem. Yeah. I mean, I just have to reconfigure the motor because he's not giving me the stand with it. He has it raised up because he's tall. So he said the stand raises it up 8 inches. He goes, but now if we put it on the ground, we got to move the motor. Anyway, I said I'm willing for all those challenges because these aren't the type of things that you could find every day. So it's within 150 miles. It's in Massachusetts. So I'm going to go pick it up, drop it off at the house, and come back to the city on Saturday. So I might document that a little bit.
Nice.
I'll definitely put pictures up of it. So
that's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. You know, do you have any big tools like that, or any tools, old tools that just don't work anymore? Does that ever happen to you, or do you always like fix things? And
oh no, I fix everything. I just lose interest in them. If they get like wobbly, or like I have a couple drill presses. A drill press I just fixed had the spring, so it didn't return. So I didn't touch it for a year, but I just fixed it a couple days ago.
So what you should do is get another container, put it on your property, and fill it up with all the tools that stop working. And you do that for another 10, 15 years. And no, not bury it. Then you pull everything out and you make a giant sculpture out of all those tools with the container. Do that. And it can be like a giant robot sculpture that protects your upstate.
I think Jimmy just promised a video on that real soon.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
That's sexy, right?
Yeah.
Very large.
You could fit 4 or 5 of my 6-inch joiners right on top of that.
Yeah, that steel on top is 24 inches wide. I meant to say across. 24 inches wide. Yeah,
that's crazy.
And how long is the bed?
He said it's 80 inches when it because they go up and down like this. So he said at its widest, it's 80 inches.
Very cool.
Wow.
He said the motor alone weighs like 200 pounds. That's a picture of the motor underneath the unit.
You just have a trailer you're going to throw this on?
No, he said it'll come apart and fit in the bed of my truck. He says he's moved it.
It won't weigh too much for your truck?
It's probably pushing the limit, but I'll drive slow.
I always love your attitude.
I've got some straps. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Figure it out. I got a good warranty on my truck, so if like the axle breaks or something, I'll just take it out quick and say, I don't know what happened. Give me a loaner.
Cool. Well, have fun doing that. And
I will.
Before we go, I want to say thanks to all of our people from Patreon, especially Luis Gonzalez, Chris Kopp, and Jeremy White. They're our top guys over there, and we are really appreciative of everybody that helps us out on Patreon.
Thank you.
If you guys, maybe we should do something special for Patreon people. We'll talk about it offline, but I think it's time we do like a...
It is time. It is definitely time, yeah.
We've had a lot of support from those people. We'll do some sort of like hangout or something. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm having dinner with Luis this week in New York.
Oh, nice. Really? Awesome.
Yep. We just made a plan.
Cool. So thanks to everybody who supports us there. If you want to help out there, you can go to patreon.com/makingit. You can also just, share the show around. That helps a lot. And if you have other questions or topics that you want us to talk about, they're really helpful to get those because it's hard for us to come up with ideas.
No, it's great getting blindsided. It really jogs the juices.
Gets us thinking. So you can tweet those to us at Making It Podcast. Or there's a form on our site. You can send us an email through that. That would be awesome. So, yeah, that's it for this week. Thanks for listening.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year. I love everybody.